Welcome to Empowered the Podcast. I'm Linda Brand, your host, and I'm here to take you on a journey of growth, healing, and self-discovery. On this podcast, we explore what it means to truly step into your power and create a life you love living. Every episode brings you transformational stories, inspiring interviews, and actionable insights on health, wellness, and mindset. Because let's face it, without our health, we have nothing. I'm joined by coaches, authors, healers, and extraordinary guests sharing their wisdom to help you become the best version of yourself. And you'll also hear from me in solo episodes, diving deep into topics that matter most on the journey to empowerment. So if you're ready to break free, grow, and ignite your potential, you're in the right place. Let's get empowered together. Hello, and welcome to Empowered the Podcast. I'm your host, Linda Brand. Thank you for being here. Today, we have Katharine Giovanni. She's a 3-time award-winning best-selling author of 12 transformative books, including her latest, The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power. As a dynamic speaker, trainer, and intuitive advisor, she shares profound insights into the art of forgiveness and personal empowerment. Recognized as one of the original founders of the independent concierge industry, Katharine combines her rich background with her passion for helping others unlock their true potential. I am super excited for this conversation because I know how important forgiveness is in everything, in manifesting and feeling your best and feeling good and creating your best life. So welcome, Katharine, to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm super excited. I want to hear about all of your books and specifically your newest book and why you wrote the book, a little bit about your journey there, because I caught some of it, but let's let the audience know about you and wherever you want to begin.
Well, you don't know forgiveness unless you know its opposite. So in the 8th grade, my parents were very pickled, meaning they were alcoholics. And I was horribly bullied in school because I was different. I'm intuitive, so I was different. And I kept that part of my life to myself because I didn't want to be stuffed into a locker. I wanted to be just like everybody else. And then when my parents got divorced, the entire stress of everything hit me. So I tried to commit suicide. And I turned into one of those kids, you know who I'm talking about. And I had just like 1 or 2 friends, and I just kind of floated through life until my mother fell down a flight of stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital. And even my mother couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital. So she dried out and she went to rehab. And it was such a gift. We spent the next 3 years closer than sisters, forgave each other, traveled together. I mean, it was absolutely brilliant. And then she died of breast cancer. And I've been asked before, what was the flashpoint of your life? That was it. And I knew that if I didn't change my life, I was probably going to die. I mean, I knew it on a soul level, to be honest. So I quit drinking. I've been sober for 34 years, and I changed my life. And of course, stuff happened to me after. I mean, I'm a breast cancer survivor, but in those days, well, let me back up. Everybody teaches you to forgive. Nobody teaches you how. Nobody. And what if you don't want to?
Right.
And back in those days, 34 years ago, I did go through AA, and you're supposed to do this 4th step, and you're supposed to make amends, and you're supposed to reach out and make amends with people. Okay. Today, I am an extroverted introvert. Back then, shy as a dormouse. Absolutely shy. So the idea of reaching out to people and talking to them when they might yell at me just finished me. So I didn't do it. But I did say, quietly to myself, I forgive you. I apologized. I just didn't reach out to people because, quite frankly, I didn't want to. The good thing about the method that I've come up with, the step-by-step forgiveness system I've come up with, is you don't have to reach out to anybody. That's probably a nod to my past. You can sit in the privacy of your own home and do it. Nobody has to know, right? But that's, those years kind of led to me leading to me to figure out how to forgive exactly, right? I really wanted to know. I wanted a step-by-step system. And in 2020, we figured it out, and then we figured out the special sauce to it, the kind of magic ingredient. That's about as quick as I could say it. I want to have a business journey too. I mean, I've written a couple books, 12, I think at last count. So yeah, it's been a journey, shall we say.
Yeah, that's incredible. Now, how old were you when your mother fell and was in the hospital and you became close friends because she dried up? How old? I
Let's
mean,
see. She died when I was 20, just before my 29th birthday. So probably I was like 25, 26, something like that. And I
we're
spent
adults.
3 really beautiful years with her.
Nice. And do you believe that the cancer came from her lifestyle and the negative, toxic, you know, alcohol and all that? I mean, what, or was it hereditary? Or I'm just asking because you said you also had breast cancer.
I
And
did.
do you believe you manifested that due to your like
Maybe.
negativity and forgive? I'm just asking because
I
I've heard.
might have. I spent many, many years angry, draped in black, being the family rebel, being proud of the family rebel, regurgitating, I'm using that word purposely because it's awful, regurgitating those horrible memories. And sometimes I would spin the stories funny and sometimes I'd be serious. And I was always thinking about it. And I wore that I'm a proud survival of a dysfunctional family and suicide like a cape, like a superwoman cape. And when I finally realized that it wasn't servicing me, that's really when I changed my life. But I spent many years being angry and I didn't want to lose the story because without your story, who are you? It's really
Yeah,
scary. But
yeah,
it was challenging. So I do not carry the BRCA gene. There might be another gene that science hasn't come up with. Is it genetic? Yeah, it probably is. My grandmother on both sides, my mother, all had breast cancer. So it's probably, there is a good argument to be made that it was genetic, stage 3 breast cancer. I've been clean 12 years. Um, but
great.
I think it was also the anger that I carried for many years too. I think we're talking about a vegetable soup kind of
Yeah, right.
reason.
So congratulations on 34 years of sobriety,
Thank you.
and surviving breast cancer. And you're welcome. So when did you start, right? When was your first book? Curious.
My first book I wrote in 1999,
What was it?
1998, and it was the Concierge Manual. I'm one of the original founders of the independent concierge industry because I started a concierge association way back when there was just a bunch of scattered people. Everybody's used to the concierge idea in a hotel world, but about 25, 30 years ago, a group of hotel concierge thought if I can do this in a hotel, I'll bet I can bring it to mainstream America. And they did. And I was one of those pioneers. But there was no books, no classes, no articles. We had dial up modems, AOL, and big fat computers. So there was nothing out there. So that's when I figured out exactly, one step at a time, how to start one of those businesses. And I wrote about it. And the book is now in its sixth edition, probably one of my bestsellers.
Nice.
Last edition, because I retired from the industry in 2020.
Oh my goodness. And what exactly is that independent concierge?
The independent concierge is gonna, I used to say yellow pages, but I've had to, because I'm just so freaking old, I've had to change my wording. So let's just use Google. An independent concierge will do anything on Google as long as it's legal, moral, and ethical. We'll do it. Now I know you have Uber Eats and Walmart delivers, but they've started to specialize now. But back then, you could give us your to-do list and we'll just get it done. So instead of doing 20 different things and calling 20 different people with 20 different appointments, you just give it to a concierge and they'll just go and do it for you.
Oh, no,
So it's like an affordable personal assistant. They're
no,
still around today. They're still brilliant,
no.
and they are more affordable today too, as a matter of fact.
Nice.
Concierge are great. I love concierge.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about the forgiveness book and why you specifically wrote it, and talk about um, the self-forgiveness piece.
Oh, that's a big one. You're going right to the meat of it. Forgiving yourself, man, that's a bear. All right. So on a 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable, horrific, and 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive, everybody listening and watching this broadcast right now, everybody's thinking of their number 10. That's why forgiveness trips most people up, because you immediately think of the worst person ever. They were unforgivable. They did something horrible to you. So you don't want to forgive them. Totally fair. And some things on this planet are unforgivable. Some people are unforgivable. And everybody's tolerance is different. So one person thinks is unforgivable, another person doesn't. And I completely respect the fact that people think whatever happened was unforgivable, and you don't have to forgive the unforgivable. I'm the only one who will tell you that. Why? Because there's other people, places, and things that you can forgive before you even get to that dumpster fire. And I did say places and things. Just hang with me for a minute. So, a few PSAs that really trips people up. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. Forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean repair. Forgiveness is selfish. You do it for you. Now, if you want to repair the relationship, great. Go for it. But for the rest of us, it doesn't mean I want a relationship. It doesn't mean I want to repair anything. It just means I want to be free. It's selfish. Forgiveness, the formal definition of forgiveness means I want you out of my head. Bottom line, that's what I want. I want you out of my head. I want to stop thinking about it. I want to stop dreaming about it. And when I see your name, we're done.
Yeah, I
All
mean, it's for you. You're doing
it
the
is for
thing
you.
for you. And so many people hold on to this toxic, negative thoughts and feelings around a person, place, or thing. I guess you're going to share about that.
I
Um,
am.
yeah, but ultimately, you're the only one who's suffering, because we've heard the saying,
Right.
holding on to resentment is really just drinking, like, what is it? The poison.
Taking the poison and hoping the other person dies.
Right. Yeah. You're basically holding on to, and they're just doing their thing and living their life. And you're over here holding on to negativity and resentment. So I've been in multiple courses and webinars and trainings, and
Mhm.
almost every single one has a piece on forgiveness, because
Yes, they do.
it's an abundance block, right? So we live in an abundant universe, and if you are not having all the things that you desire and want, it's because we're blocking it. And one of those blocks that's huge is this piece that you wrote about. So
Well, one of the things that trips people up in most of those courses is, and I think we were taught this as kids because the teacher said, "Now go, go say you're sorry. Now go play and be nice with each other." So we in error connected some dots that shouldn't have been connected, and we connected, if I forgive you, then I'm giving you a pass, and it means you were right. I'm giving in, which is wrong. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean you were correct. You're still not right. You're still wrong. You still hurt me deeply. I really don't care about you. It's all about me. It's forgiveness is selfish. You also don't have to reach out to anybody. So that being said, you can forgive dead people, because where they are or are not doesn't matter a lick. You're doing it for you. And if they're alive and well in your head right now, then you can forgive it.
yeah,
That trips a lot of people up.
right. Go to the person, place, thing.
Okay. One of the things I'm going to ask you to do, and there's worksheets and stuff in the book, and I have an audio book available, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But I want you to sit down and I want you to write a list of all the people that you think you need to forgive. And then I want you to rate them from 1 to 10. Now you could have 7 number 5s and you could skip a number. It's all good to me. Don't care. And I want you to start with the easy ones and work your way up to the unforgivable ones. That's the basics behind the system. And one of the things about my system is everybody forgets about the energy. This is one of the ways you're going to forgive that unforgivable and yourself. Einstein clearly proved that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just transforms from one thing to another. Einstein also said that everything around us, including this inanimate little silver microphone in front of me, everything has energy around it. So I've been approached by many, many people who have said, Katharine, I've done the work. I have forgiven him, but I'm still thinking about them. Well, because you didn't forgive the energy. So my system is going to be, I completely forgive Linda. I forgive the energy around Linda. I completely forgive myself, the energy around myself, and the energy around the whole situation. Okay, that's fine, Katharine, but what if I can't forgive? What if it's an unforgivable person? Okay, well, if you can't forgive the person, I have a friend who couldn't even forgive the energy around the person. She was so angry, and that's fine. First thing I want you to do is for the next week, I want you to say, I completely forgive myself for not being able to forgive and the energy around this thought. Say that every day for a week before you go to bed. That's going to open up the back closet of your mind. Your brain's protecting you. Then, if you still don't want to forgive, I call this a waste dump. Sometimes I call it a dumpster fire for a reason, because everything on our planet has energy around it. So pick apart the memory. Let's use my childhood bullies. I'll use myself as an example. I was bullied in grammar school. So for a while, I couldn't forgive the bully. That's fair. I was hurt. And it doesn't matter if you're a 63-year-old like myself, thinking back to something that happened in the 1970s, outing my age there. Doesn't matter because it was still alive in my head. And every once in a while, I think about it. So I couldn't forgive the bully, so I pulled apart one of the memories. And I forgave my childhood school, the grammar school, the energy around the building. I forgave the desk, the table, the chair, the playground, the kids who stood around and didn't help, and the energy around all these particular pieces. And as I peeled off the layers of that onion, I was able to finally forgive the bully. Now, you're not going to get a number 10 person down to a 1 overnight. It's going to take a minute. It's also called shadow work by many people, and it's going to take a while. And I have people say, well, I don't want to go back into the memory. It was too awful. I understand that too. But I'm only asking you to go back once or twice more, and then you can clear it. So now I can look back at my childhood and I can see the pockets of love that were there. I can see the adults that were trying to help that kid. And that's what I remember now. I could come up with memories, but I mostly remember the love and the adults that were around.
For the past 2 years, I've brought you inspiring stories and powerful insights to help you create a life and business you love living. But did you know that I also offer personalized coaching and dynamic workshops? If you're ready to move beyond dreaming and start building a life and business that truly lights you up, I'm here to help. Join me for transformative one-on-one coaching or dive into some vision workshops. Let's make your vision a reality and your life an adventure. Subscribe to the podcast for more and go to my website, lindabrandcoach.com. Nice. Beautiful. And have you heard of the Ho'oponopono prayer?
I have many times. This is very similar.
Oh, okay. And tell us with the why behind the forgiveness. Like I know, and I mentioned some things around, but that's my words. So I want to hear yours. Like, why is forgiving so important? I mean, we kind of on it around drinking the poison, whatever, but kind of share a little more on that.
A lot of people say forgiveness, anger is toxic. Okay. How? There was this study done it's called the Japanese water study. It's right on Google, done by, I want to say Matsumoto something. I never get his name right ever. But if you Google Japanese water study, it'll come right up. And what this gentleman did, and I'm going to simplify it in the interest of time, he took 2 containers of water. One container of water, he did nothing but talk to it, spoke love, gorgeous words, really beautiful. The other container of water, hate, negativity, horrible words. Then he froze the water and put it under a microscope. The water that he spoke love to had these beautiful, crystal, gorgeous, snowflake looking formations. The water he spoke negativity to and hate to had these malformations, black and brown, ugly things. Why am I telling you this? Your body is over 95% water. So if your self-talk is bad and you're holding on to anger and hate, what do you think you're doing to the water molecules within your body? You're literally making yourself sick. Another thing that happens, and if anybody's listening to this broadcast, I'm about to hold a cup of iced coffee right in front of my face. When you first get angry, you can hold your anger off to the side, like I'm holding this cup. You and I, we can still talk. I can see you. We can go out for a meal. I can do my job. I can handle my anger, Linda. This is easy. I got this. The longer I hold on to it, the more it's going to hurt. And I'm going to, of course, be putting more anger into this cup if I hold on to it too long. So eventually it's going to just overflow. And I'm going to have, now I'm holding two hands. Well, now I'm starting to get tripped up by it. It's starting to creep into my conversations. If I still hold on to the anger, now the cup's in front of my face. I can't see you. I can't do my job. It's all I'm talking about. My friend pool has started to go down because it's all I'm talking about and all I'm thinking about. So forgiveness is not only going to allow me to pay attention to life again, but it's going to start healing my body. Even if you start with the easy 1, 2, and 3 people, right? And I'm also going to pay attention. I may see my dream career. I may just run into the perfect relationship. Why didn't I see it before? Because I was too focused on the anger. Putting your anger down is going to allow you to live your life again. Now, allow me a question that I usually get. I've had a couple gentlemen who've looked at me and said, anger has what fueled me all these years. I've made a lot of money and my anger is how I get up in the morning. Okay. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. Let's talk about it. 2 elevators. One elevator is an express. The other elevator, you get in and some punk kid has pressed all the buttons all the way up to the 75th floor. So you have to stop at every single solitary floor. People get on, people get off. Sometimes they smell, sometimes they're talking to themselves, whatever it is. You can get to the 75th floor on that local elevator, but you're not going to arrive the same person. You're going to be angry. You can get there, but it's not going to be pretty. Wouldn't you rather take the express? You can get 100% farther and faster on love and forgiveness than you can with anger and hate.
Do you study the Course in Miracles?
I've read most of it. Yes, I have.
Yeah, I study it, and forgiveness is a giant piece in there around
it's huge.
And forgiveness. Yeah. And the other question that came to mind, so I brought up the Ho'oponopono prayer. If anyone doesn't know what that is, it is a Hawaiian prayer where you're speaking to yourself, your higher self, God, universe, and you're saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, in any order that you wish, but I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And one of my former coaches, and she's an author, and she was on the show a couple times, she does it regularly. And anytime a negative thought comes in, she'll say it. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And so it's just very interesting. I just wanted to bring it up because it is like a self-forgiveness. And so
forgiving yourself is huge. I do this practice every single solitary night. And forgiving yourself, I advise everybody, instead of writing down a list of the people you need to forgive, when it comes to yourself, I want you to write a list of the memories you need to forgive, and then slowly start with the easiest one and work your way up to the hard one and pick it apart, like I did before. Pick apart the memory, forgive the objects in the room, forgive the other people in the room. I forgave 1974, the whole year, all at once, because that was the year I tried to commit suicide.
I do.
So I just forgave it.
Yeah. And, your journey led you to doing this powerful work where you're serving all these people with your books and coaching and all the things. So it is a blessing in disguise, even though it was horrible. And I've been suicidal, multiple times. I've overcome
Yeah.
a lot of trauma and negativity in my life, and I'm still on the healing journey. And I was going to say, do you use EFT tapping at all? Have you?
Yes, all the time. My best friend, Dr. Katie Nall, is the one who taught me tapping, and she and I tap all the time. So it's a great thing to be able to forgive somebody and then seal it with tapping.
Mm.
Because then it's really, you forgive the person, you forgive the energy, and then you tap and done.
You know what's new and different about you, Catherine? I have never heard about forgiving the energy, so I appreciate that so much. I love that. And is the EFT in your book too, in your new book, or not?
I have references to EFT in there.
No,
Absolutely, I do.
nice.
And
And,
this is the first book of three, so there's two more after this. The
oh,
second book is going to talk about more about forgiving yourself and forgiving money, which is simply energy. Hello. And I'll go into more depth on how to forgive the unforgivable. And the third book, well, that's going to stretch everybody's brain. So, like really badly. So we'll leave the third book for the third book.
mm. Who are your favorite mentors and leaders and spirit? You're an intuitive and all that. So who are your favorite? Do you like Louise Hay? Is she one of your?
Louise Hay, Marianne Williamson, Neil Donald Walsh. Those are the types of people that I really, really, really enjoy following.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Marianne Williamson taught the Course in Miracles, and she has the book Return to Love, which is kind of the similar teachings. And it saved her because she was also in her 20s and miserable. And, we all have dysfunction. I mean,
Yeah, we do.
I haven't talked to my mother in 2 years. I showed up there in February when my uncle was passing away, and she waved for me to go away. And it's very painful. And so, I mean, I'm healing and everything, but I have so many, you had mentioned something about either today in our interview or when I was watching one of your Instagram lives or something, you had mentioned the story that you're hanging on to. Like, who would you be?
That's right.
Talk on that a little bit.
Well, we are our story. I don't care if you grew up in a father's knows best kind of childhood. I actually know somebody who did, but they still had crap there was still water under the bridge, let's just politely say, right? Things happen. Humans irritate other humans. It's part of the journey. And you can't know forgiveness and love if you're not really faced with its opposite, right? So all of us have a story, and some of us wear our story like a badge of courage, and we speak about it, and we write about it, and we think, here we are with our story. Look what I survived. And some of us are looking for that pat on the back that we didn't get from our parents or that hug saying, okay, it's okay. But at some point, you have to lose the story. And why? Because your hate and your anger is tripping you up. And the person you came down to the planet to be, your authentic person, you can't be that person if you're always looking at everything through rose-colored glasses of negativity, hate, and anger.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today if I didn't lose the story, because I
Yeah.
would have never become my authentic self, ever. It would
What's
not have
that?
happened.
Yeah. Did you hire a coach or was that just your own realization and your own epiphanies and
It was me, myself, and I. Never hired a coach, really didn't have two dimes to scrape together at any given point in those days. I'm very intuitive, and I have heard my intuitive voice since I was a kid. And I think and I kept it a secret, to quite honestly, from everybody, even the concierge industry. Nobody knew that the advice I was giving them was stuff that I was actually hearing in my head. Because back in the 70s, if you hear voices in your head, you were put in Bellevue Psych Hospital or given meds.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
kept it to myself. But I was sent to a program in Worcester, Massachusetts in 1979. And it was this really great, they're out of business now, but it was this great program where you learn how to survive in the wild It's an outward bound kind of thing. And then you learn how to survive in a city with internships. One of the things they did is they stuck me in the woods for 3 days with no food and nobody else. I was given a pad of paper and a pen, and that's it. And I had my tent and I had a water bottle and I was next to a river. I had my sleeping bag. 3 days. That's it. You can only lie to yourself for so long. And I've always loved to write. So I just started to write and I started asking myself questions. And my brain was giving me the answers. And after those 3 days, I realized that I didn't like the person that I had become up to that point. I think I was around 16. And I thought, I'm going to become a human lighthouse. And I'm going to show my family how to do it right. And it took me 20 years to become that lighthouse. Why? Because I was 16. And the world just needed to knock me around a little bit. I was too young. But I did eventually become that lighthouse and living in the woods and kind of healing. That's kind of how it all came about. There was really no trainer at all. It was just me.
Incredible. Wow. That's an incredible story. Um, I want to touch on the forgiving people thing because do you believe, like, if you study the course, everything is all we have is this current moment, this present
Mhm.
moment. So we're all imperfect beings. We're whole and complete and all that. We're born perfect, but like we're flawed, right? We have things happen to us and we're damaged goods, is what I kind of say. It sounds kind of bad, but it's true. And so, but I mean, like, I'm not who I was 2 weeks ago, 2 years ago, yesterday. So if I behaved a certain way 2 weeks ago towards somebody and it wasn't my best, like, I want to be forgiven. Like, I want to be forgiven, you know?
Right.
So I think, I guess what I'm trying to say, do you feel any compassion for that bully that was bullying you, or these people? Like, do you have, I mean, usually the bully has, maybe there's a bully at their home or something, and that's why they're acting this way, or they don't get attention and they only get attention when they're negative or whatever. I mean, there's always usually a reason. And like, if the four agreements, nothing's personal, right? It's never personal. So it's usually any hurt people, right? So
That's right.
right? So I'm just asking, I guess I'm trying to come around with like a different, when someone's rude or nasty, it's perhaps like you need to be more compassionate towards them because they're obviously in pain.
For me personally, the compassion came after. It's very hard to be compassionate to something when you're angry because you're angry. And it doesn't matter if it happened in 1979 or it happened in 2024. It happened and you're angry about it. But once I was able to forgive these people, the compassion came afterwards. And that's kind of how I did it. I kind of compartmentalized my life. And I compartmentalized because when I woke up this morning, I'm a new person. When I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm a brand new person.
I love that.
Yesterday, that's why we call it shadow work, because yesterday's Catherine, gone.
Right.
So I looked at that teenage Catherine and I compartmentalized her and I treated it as a separate person. And I thought that teen Catherine, she did the best she could with the tools that she had at the time. She created a persona so she could survive, and she did survive. And the people around her, well, like energy attracts like energy. I wasn't attracting the greatest of people. But once I forgave that Catherine, once I forgave the bullies and the other people within those memories, then I could have compassion for Catherine, and then I could have compassion for the bullies because I
Mm,
was free. And then I looked at myself in my 20s and I did the same thing. So for me personally, the compassion came after the anger was gone.
mm. Yeah, you're such a gift. I realize this vehicle of the podcast, I literally believe the universe and God brings me everybody through this vehicle. I'm just listening to you because I work on the self love and the inner critic and all that. I want you to touch on that because just listening to what you said, I forgave my teenage self. I forgave
Mhm.
my 20-year-old because I'm looking at you going, you were a victim. as a child.
Yeah,
You grew
sure
up
was.
with alcoholic parents. You had
Sure was.
no wonder you were miserable or you were angry. You had every right to be angry at the time,
Yeah.
right? And you did. You created what you created. I didn't have alcoholic parents, but I wasn't supervised. I didn't have proper parenting. Got in with the wrong crowd and it was just went downhill and I overcame and all these things. Got in trouble with the law. I mean, was on drugs, all these things. And grateful to be alive and stuff, but it's like these stories and beliefs and it's all programming and conditioning and negativity and stuff. But I mean, I've been working on my mindset and now I'm doing more somatic with the EFT and things like that. But where were we going with this? Oh, the inner critic and the self-love. Can you talk on how important all that is? And
Everybody is worthy to live a life of joy and happiness. Women, especially, many of us don't feel worthy. I've run into very few men who have this problem in their heads. It's mostly women. And you are worthy to live a life of joy. You are worthy to live a life of happiness. It doesn't matter if your parents said you were useless and weren't worth anything. And why are you doing this? Because you're just going to get married and have kids anyways. Oh, that was mine. Okay, never mind. You can forgive. Listen, I'm not a very religious person, but there is a passage in the Bible that kind of gets me to forgiveness of myself and everybody else every single time. Jesus is on the cross and he says, "Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do." And what I've always thought he meant by that is your parents did the best they could with the tools they had at the day. If somebody's in the fifth grade and they don't know trigonometry, I can't get mad at that because I haven't learned it yet. So did they do enough? Absolutely not. They failed. However, they did the best that they could.
yes, I love that.
And I did the best that I could. I was labeled a rebel by my family for years.
Right.
And I kind of leaned into that role and kind of liked it because as a young kid, remember at 16, I was going to be the lighthouse. But the trouble with that is when you look at your family and you say, okay, if I do everything the opposite of what they say, I'll be fine. As an adult, brilliant strategy. As a 16-year-old, horrific strategy. Got me into loads of trouble. I mean, yes, I was right, but yeah, right church, wrong pew for that time. But
Wow.
I think you have compassion for yourself. Have compassion because you survived what you survived. You did the best you could. You used the tools you had at the time and you got through it because you're watching this podcast today. You're here with us now. There's a reason you're here with us now.
Hmm.
So forgive yourself for anything that happened yesterday, all the way back to the sandbox
Right,
because
right.
you're here now. Today's a new day.
Absolutely. We are every new day is a gift and every new day we're a new person.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, I know that a lot of women carry shame.
they do.
I was carrying shame for 40 years. Which is the lowest vibration since we live in a vibrational universe. Shame is,
I think it's Brene Brown who talks about shame. I'm pretty sure that's the one who talks to. She wrote a brilliant book about it. Absolutely brilliant.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that I learned recently that is the lowest vibration on that
Mhm.
scale that
It is.
Abraham Hicks uses and everything. Yeah. And so a lot of women have worthiness. I teach worthiness. I teach self-love. We teach what we
Yeah.
need, right? Um, and I loved your analogy with the cup and carrying the anger and how it's affecting everything. And it's so true. You can spot an unhealed person, like it's as
Their body language, because I used to teach customer service in the concierge world. And when somebody's like that, you can see their body. Their shoulders are kind of hunched in and I walked around letter C for years. And my posture is not good because of it, but it's better than it used to be. And so they kind of hunch over and they just kind of they look you in the eye, but they don't kind of look you in the eye. And I run into people like this, women mostly, and I just want to hug them. I have to admit, I just want to hug the fluff out of them. Not
yeah,
everybody likes to be hugged, sadly. And we live in a post-COVID world, but I still want to hug them.
Yeah, yeah. Where are you in the world? Where do you live?
I'm right outside of Wilmington, North Carolina.
Oh, nice. Okay, I'm in Florida. And what is it? So you're an author. Oh, I wanted to ask, when you were in the woods,
Hmm.
3 days with the notebook and the water and your sleeping bag, is that when you began your, like, do you believe that you started becoming the author at that time? Or what, like, got,
Yeah, I still have the journal. Did become an author. I wrote poetry, which wasn't too bad for a 16-year-old, but you can read the writing. That's exactly when I became an author, and I was literally writing down my feelings, and
which is,
because I'm intuitive, I was asking questions, and I was getting getting actual answers, just like Neil Donald Walsh. So I have a whole journal filled with it. I was asking all sorts of questions, and after a while, it's hard to lie to yourself. And I just realized I didn't like who I had become. But it
yeah,
just took many years, many years for me to become the person I wanted to be. Took
mm,
a while.
yeah, that's incredible. So did you go to college or?
I did. I went to college in Chicago. I went to Lake Forest College, which is right outside of Chicago, and I spent 4 years there. Majored in sociology and anthropology and music.
Hmm, nice. Okay. And then you started writing your first book. And did you have a book coach or any of that?
No, no, I did not. My way of writing books is might be different than other people's. A lot of people think when you write, you have to come up with the title, and then you come up with an outline, and then you start with chapter one and you move all the way through. Okay, that works for many people, not for me. I'm kind of a bushwhacker, meaning I tend to blaze my own trail. And if somebody tells me I can't do something, okay, I didn't want to do it before, but now I want to do it just to stick it to you. It's just a quirk in my personality.
I love
So
it
what
because
I do is one of my books I actually wrote in a chemo chair on my phone because I was bored. But what I do is I just write. I mean, literally, that's my advice to anybody who wants to write their first book. Just write. Maybe get the topic that you want to write about and then just start writing something. And then tomorrow, do it again. And whatever comes into your head, just start writing. And when you think you have enough content, then you turn it into chapters. So what you wrote 3 months ago might be the conclusion of the book. It may not, the first thing you write may not be the introduction. It might be chapter seven. You don't know. And once you have the book, then you give it a title.
I
That's
like,
how I write. Some people love outlines and they just screw me up because I never follow them.
right. Well,
They
that's
always get
really
tossed.
what's been holding me back from my book. I was in a best-selling book course and I ultimately was super busy at the time. So I was only like, I loved the classes, but which I have access to all of it, but it was this outline, it was this, it was all those things. And now, and I kept thinking I had to have the ending. Anyway, I
I would
love,
have never written any book. I've written 12, so I would have never gotten writing done at all if I had to do it that way. It's just not my personality.
saying
I can't do it. So whatever book you have in you, just start writing.
yeah, I
I
did.
don't care where you start, just start writing.
Yeah, thank
And
you. I
don't
did.
listen to anybody.
I love that. I did start writing. And also I just it's coming out soon, a chapter in a book. So I co-authored with
Cool.
yeah,
Congratulations.
thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank you. Dare to Care too. And so tell us all your books really. Can you remember all their names? Do you have them?
The books that are actually in print right now are the Concierge Manual 6th edition. So if you're looking to start a concierge business, that's a good book to buy. It's also the last edition because I retired from the industry. It was my gift to the industry. Then I have Going Above and Beyond, which really isn't in print, but it's a customer service book. I wrote a book called Rainbows and Banana Peels, which is about my cancer journey. Then I wrote a book called The Little Bird in Your Shoulder, which teaches people how to tap into their intuition and hear that little bird on their shoulder because you're either going to see it, feel it, know it, or just sense it. And that book is going to teach you how to tap into it. And then, of course, I wrote The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power.
Hmm, so good. Yeah. Can you give us some tips on how, because you said the book is about how to forgive. Did you already give us some? I know you said to write
Yeah,
down.
I think being willing to start is really the first big step because I know you don't want to, but that's because as I said in the beginning of the podcast, you're thinking of that number 10 unforgivable person. So just table that person, forget them for a minute and start with the easy one. The person who stole your shovel in the sandbox. I'm actually not kidding. Start with the earliest of memories and start to forgive there. I also suggest you do it before you go to bed. Forgiveness is a powerful energy. It's like the law of gravity. It's going to work with you, believe it or not. And forgiveness, this is actually a true story. So I came up with this method and I wrote down my list. Overachiever here, 50 people, easy. I mean, the list was massive. And I thought I did it before bed because your body heals itself at night when you're sleeping. I really want you to do this before bed. And so I practice what I preach. And I thought this is going to be great. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes, and I'm going to wake up a brand new person. Okay, I didn't really work out that way, sadly. I did forgive many people on the list, absolutely, positively. But I also spent the next 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was a stomach flu. Remember those water cells I talked about before? They have to go someplace, people. And the reason I only want you to do 5 to 10 a night is because your body can handle that. Most people, 9 out of 10 people, when they forgive, they feel really tired, like really tired. My older son says his shoulders felt light, and he's in federal law enforcement. He said my shoulders felt lighter. That's not normal. I said that's positive. And that's what happens. So if you only do, some of you might be in the bathroom for a little bit. You did not eat a piece of bad steak or fish. It's your body clearing out some very old toxic energy. So do this before you go to bed
It's very
and
interesting.
only do like 5 to 10. My friend Katie, who we talked about when tapping, she'll tell you only to do 2 or 3.
Mm,
So just take your list in tiny little bite size. And how do you know you've forgiven? Well, when you could go to Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner and sit next to somebody who you had on your forgiveness list and they try and push your buttons and you don't care.
yeah,
You can go on Facebook and see this person's name and you'll realize this happened to me. I saw an old business partner of mine and I stared at her name and I thought, I don't care. I really didn't care. I was very excited about it. I had no good memories, no bad memories. I literally didn't care.
yeah,
Boom. Neutrality. That's forgiveness right there.
beautiful. And what do you say to the person that has a hard time? Like they can't forgive somebody. Like they don't want to, like they just feel like they can't.
I want you to repeat after me. I completely forgive myself for not being able to forgive and the energy around these thoughts. Say
Okay.
that every day for a week. And as I said before, forgiveness is like an onion. You're going to peel back that you're not going to feel like you're doing anything and making any headway, but you are. Your brain is a brilliant tool
Yeah.
and it protects you. So as you say that, you're going to be clearing the first few layers of the onion and your brain's going to go, wow, Linda's ready. And it's going to open up a back closet of your mind and memories are going to flood out. And
Mm,
as those memories flood out, I want you to write them down on a piece of paper, rate them from 1 to 10 and start forgiving.
wow. So good. Yeah, I love that. Very good. I will say I had an energy healer, um, and it was remote, and she said, write down all the people. So it could be where I need to forgive them or I need to apologize to them.
Mm.
Something like that. It was both ways. And just to write those down and, so yeah, I know this work is very, very important. So very good. I love talking with you and learning about you and your journey. Was there anything else? I want to just be respectful of your time.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Just as long as everybody out there knows that they can do this and that brass ring is attainable, and you are worthy enough to do this. Forget what everybody's told you. You are worthy enough. And if somebody looks at you, usually it's in families, well, I don't understand why you feel that about whoever, Uncle, Aunt Martha. Let's just use Aunt Martha because I don't have an Aunt Martha. So there you go.
Yeah.
You know, how can you say that about Aunt Martha? I have a completely different viewpoint. Okay, that's great. I'm glad you have a different viewpoint. I'm glad you had a good experience, but you didn't. And with all due respect, I don't care about them. I care about you. It's all about you. So if you have the bad memory about Aunt Martha, then that's what I care about, and it's forgivable. Don't even think about other people. We're not talking about other people. We're only talking about you. And if you have that bad memory and you remember it, that's all it means to me. If they say you're making it up, I don't want you to listen to it. You have the memory. It's real. It can be forgiven.
Yeah. And you can also forgive the same person multiple times on different.
Sure you can. You're going to have to. If this person is a level 6, for example, you may have to make a couple passes. You're not going to get a 10 or a 6 down to a 1 overnight.
Mhm.
Then you might have something else happen. I had a friend of mine and I was leading them. I do private sessions with people on this, and I was leading her through the forgiveness exercise, and I said, "So pick out a level 1 person." She did. And we went through my mantra, which is just that very simple poem. You don't have to dance. You don't have to hold crystals unless that's what floats your boat. That's fine with me. But she got very quiet because after you do the mantra, I want you to check in on your body. Are you still angry, or are we done? Do you think it's down to a 0? She said, "I'm even more mad than when I started," because memories started to come up. So her level 1 person jumped to a 6. So
Yeah.
she had to make a couple more passes. And what I want people to do is wait 24 hours and then try it again. And that's how this is why it takes a minute, because your number 10 person, you might have to make a number of passes at the memory before you can get it to a 9. And
Yeah.
then you get it to an 8. And that's why I want you to start with the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s, because they're easier memories to forgive, and you're going to start to feel better. People will notice. People are going to notice that you're feeling better. And one of 3 or 4 things are going to happen when you start in this journey. Like energy attracts like energy. So you might attract new people into your life because they're going to love this new energy, this new vibe that you're giving off. The opposite is also true. You might have some jackrabbits. Friends and family who were in your circle are just going to leave. I've had a number of friends leave and I've never seen them again. Ghosted me. It's because they don't like your energy. And then you have the family and friends who like the old you, the old broken you, the angry you. And if you start to change, well, their friend is not going to be around anymore. So they may try and sabotage it.
Oh, yeah.
Stay the course. Stay
Right.
the course. The new person you're becoming, take it from somebody who's been there and bought several t-shirts. The new you is better.
Yes, I love that. That's so very important. I'm glad you added that because your environment is so important. And if people are not supportive of who you're becoming and your, growth
Yeah.
and healing and evolving, then yeah, you'll find your new people
You'll
because
you'll find your new tribe. Maya Angelou once said, when somebody shows you who they really are, forgive them the first time.
yeah, yeah,
You're gonna find your tribe, man, who you've been running with. If they don't support you and celebrate you, then it's not your tribe. Some of those friends and family will journey with you. They'll want to go on how are you doing this? Oh, it's forgiveness. Oh, I'm gonna jump on. Now, some people can do this work alone just by reading my book, and some people need a buddy. So let
yeah,
me just give you a little word of warrant, just a little bit of advice. If you want to do it with a buddy, brilliant. I know a lot of people that have. Just please make sure that buddy's name is not on your list.
yeah. That's good.
May not end well, or forgive the buddy before you start the work. And it needs to be somebody who's safe, who's not going to spread the tea all over your city and town. So
Yeah,
just make sure it's a safe person and they're not in your list. So when you get to their, yeah, and you're not on their list,
yeah,
conversely.
yeah, exactly. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. Tell everybody where they can find your books and find you. And when did this last book get published? Very recent, right?
It was recent. Yeah, it's within the last few months, to be honest. I can't remember the exact date, but it came out in 2024.
Yeah, we'll put the links in the show notes.
But you can go to Amazon. All my books are available on Amazon, and two of the books have the audio book available because I understand not everybody wants to read. My younger son produced it, and we're still talking to each other. So banner. Not
That's
as easy as you would think doing an audio book. I have mad respect for those cartoons and the celebrities do the voice over. It's not as easy as y'all think. So I have mad respect for it. You can also go to my website. It's katharinegiovanni.com. And Catherine is spelled a little bit odd thanks to my mother. Thanks, Mom.
yep.
It's Katharine Giovanni.com.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, she has a unique spelling. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Well,
Me and Catherine Hepburn. That's it.
oh, nice. Okay.
Catherine McPhee, I think, is another one that spells it my way. So yeah, there's not many of us.
Nice. Well, it was a pleasure talking with you and great to meet you. I'm so glad to connect and share your story and your books and your work in the world. It's very powerful.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. This was fun.
Yes, it's always fun. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I know you have so many choices of things to listen to. I hope it was valuable to you and you enjoyed it. If it was, please share with someone you think would benefit from listening to it. Also, subscribe so you know when the next episode is. I would love a review. It would mean so much to me to grow this audience and help as many people as possible. So have a wonderful day and live empowered. Till next time, take care.